Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Michael J.
Finally, Standard has come to the Rivals of Ixalan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair to say. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. So, 1 week, one set of results, 1.5 sets of results.
Two. Two-ish.
We'll
the fidelity is a little lower because it's the team event with 2 other formats, but...
Yeah, but...
Still some decks.
This week we'll talk about Standard, though, yeah?
Oh, for sure. And this, the bunch of decks that we've seen, this is a pretty good spread. And it's not just variety. There's some new stuff here.
Oh, technological breakthroughs left, right, and above us. Far above us, let's say.
Maybe. Yeah, probably. Wanted to see if we actually, what would you think of starting with, it's kind of a funny way to do it, but the 5th place decks from both events actually have a lot in common. So actually, I guess it's technically the 6th place deck from the Standard, like from the team event. But so Timur monsters, man. Which, by the way, like, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we're all on the same page about this is an energy deck. But, like, Timur monsters for this one, there's actually a Timur dinosaurs deck in the classic. I think it's the classic.
One deck at a time, friend. You want to?
I know. It's just Timur. It's just all Timur everywhere.
Timur
let's start with
deck.
Sure.
All right. So, I can see what you're saying. Kind of like nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Energy, not. It's energy-ish, right? So,
it's energy-ish in that it literally has Voltaic Brawler, Servant of the Conduit, Bristling Hydra, like Aether Hub. These are a lot of different energy cards. Harnessed Lightning. This is literally an energy deck. He just didn't have room for Longtusk Cub. 20 energy cards, didn't have room for Longtusk Cub.
Well, if you're gonna play, let's call it an energetic. It's got a motor on it, right? I think I probably would have made room for Longtusk Cub, mayhap over Thrashing Brontodon. I'm not sure.
No. I think Thrashing Brontodon is the truth. That's not the one to cut. And it's not Jade Light Ranger either. Jade Light Ranger is the truth. You were totally right about that.
Jade Light Ranger is all over these top 8s.
Yeah, you were totally right about Jade Light Ranger. I'm just saying that, like, it's surprising to me that that Longtusk Cub wouldn't make the cut in this deck with 10 removal spells and an energy theme. Whatever.
All right, so it's really a red-green monsters deck, except he's got, like, Negate and Spell Pierce in the sideboard, right?
And River's Rebuke.
Yep, the one Miser's River's Rebuke. Can't forget that Mirror Breaker, if in fact there's a mirror anymore. So, it's not that energetic. He's only got 1 Bristling Hydra. It's just
4 Voltaic Brawler.
Yeah, that's
3 Harnessed Lightning.
Actually, let's talk about that for a second.
4 Servant of the Conduit.
Does Voltaic Brawler even make sense over Longtusk Cub?
No. Next question.
That's what I thought. I'm in agreement with you. It's both or it's Cub, right? Like, that's the...
Well, no, it could also be both and cut the Servant, both don't cut the Servant, Cub, cut everything else. There are so many permutations that just all involve the Cub.
Yeah, but it's not Brawler over Cub.
It's not the Brawler over the Cub. No, I don't think so. Not in my book.
Brawler is
honestly
harder to cast.
I really am skeptical of the 4th Abrade over the 4th Harnessed Lightning. I'm sorry, I don't mean to, like, make light of it, but I think that I think I would be in for 4 Harnessed Lightnings here.
Well, here's the thing. New format, new cards in the mix. You know, he's got Jade Light Ranger, he's got Thrashing Brontodon, he's got a different look.
I think but that's part of it. Thrashing Brontodon's my entire point. I think Thrashing Brontodon is so good that he really should be playing Thrashing Brontodon. And I think that when you have 4 Thrashing Brontodons in your deck, you do not need the 4th Abrade also.
So
that's my point. Is I think it's fine. It's just I think 4 Harnessed Lightnings is just better when you have 4 Thrashing Brontodons in your deck.
So I think I would Oh man, I hate cutting in a braid. The thing that just bothers me is that there's no.
You just don't believe in the Brontodon yet. You will.
Oh no, are you kidding?
Dude, the Brontodon's your type of card.
When I was saying potentially cut some Brontodon, it's not that I don't like the Brontodon. Obviously, I like the Brontodon. The Brontodon is literally like, Mark Rosewater stole my dream journal. And he's just like, Michael J. was dreaming of a dinosaur that was bigger than a gnarled mess, but was also a disenchant. Yeah, obviously.
This card is everything you've ever dreamed of for a second best green 3-drop in this set.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is I'm into 2s, and I'm in particular into the Longtusk Cub, who has been a murderer.
I'm not talking about the Cub. We're all on the page about the Longtusk Cub. I'm just saying that when you've got 4 Thrashing Brontodons, you don't need the 4th of Braid.
Yeah, so that's I agree with you. Brontodon's sweet, right? 3/4 for 3. Maybe it's pretty good enough, but man.
No. Hold on. Before you even get to the disenchant, don't even get to the disenchant yet.
Yeah.
I'm saying full stop 3/4 for 3. If there was a gnarled mass that's just a 3/4 for 3, this would be its time to shine. This is the spot. So look at the metagame. It's not just that all these people are playing Braids and Magma Sprays and Harness Lightnings and all that kind of jazz, right? And it's not all – there's also all the Sweltering Suns type of action and all the Fatal Pushes and the Lightning Strikes, right? Like that stuff's everywhere. Everywhere. But like the Brontodon gets the best of it. Even Vraska's Contempt is not as good against the Brontodon in certain situations. I'm just saying that the Brontodon as a 3/4 for 3 is a very efficient distribution of stats right now, and that ability.
Well, yeah, the ability is an insane level of flexibility for this format, right?
It's not that efficient.
But it's on a 3/4 for 3.
Right, and
it's free.
You can do it in combat. You could do it and blow up a Heart of Kirin under certain circumstances, right? Like you could be like for instance, if your opponent's attacking with 2 threats, you could block one and shoot the other. But the main thing is just being able to go after God Pharaoh's Gift. Being able to go after God Pharaoh's Gift is like that's a big game. And then also having added weapons against flying vehicles like Aether Sphere Harvester and Heart of Kirin. And then being able, and this is the most important one in my humble opinion, Torrential Gearhulk.
Oh, well.
Look at this deck's matchup against Torrential Gearhulk, right? Like, it doesn't mean that it solves all your problems, right? But it's nice to not just be bricked, like just to be like, completely annihilated by the huge body. So I don't know. I think the Brontodon is top notch.
I think the Brontodon is very good. Just would also love to point out that anyone who has designs on making a lot of tokens, maybe doing some kind of Legion's Landing action, maybe flipping a search for Azcanta, maybe any kind of exploiting a treasure map. The Brontodon may or may not deign to step its gigantic dinosaur foot onto your artifact or enchantment, but it could. And it could do it when it wants to. It's just got, you can have your artifact or your enchantment for a few turns. I'm going to wait for that to go on the stack. That's totally the kind of thing the Brontodon might do after getting in 9 or something.
Great point. And it's not the worst. When your opponent casts out your Rekindling Phoenix, being able to get that back online, that's nice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that this is, just the fact that it can interact with cast out is pretty cool. Like, maybe there'll be a deck in the not-too-distant future where Thrashing Brontodon is bailing Hazoret out of problems. Maybe.
Sure. But, Rekindling Phoenix, though, actually, while we are on the topic-ish, Rekindling Phoenix, I love Rekindling Phoenix here over Hazoret, over Bristling Hydra, over Chandra. Rekindling Phoenix is the truth.
I mean, just want to, remind you, we talked about this exact configuration last week.
Yep.
4 Rekindling Phoenix, 4 Glorybringer, supported by 4 Jadelight Ranger. Right, this is so much value. But it's not just... traditionally you have these decks that are like, oh, look at how much 2-for-1 I have. Oh, I have some card advantage built into my guys. This is like 8 haste flyers. That's actually like pretty substantial.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of like hitting people in the face.
Yep. And I like the durability. Like having Jadelight Ranger for grinding, Rekindling Phoenix for grinding. I actually am not sure that you couldn't have a little bit more of that action here.
How do you have more than 4 of each of those?
You look for some similar alternatives.
So what kind of similar alternatives are you thinking about? Like maybe some more, potentially some more like exploring Merfolk earlier in curve or what?
I don't know. There's so many different little value creatures nowadays. Like I don't know. I guess have to see. Not sure yet. Because I do like these. I like Longtusk Cub too, though.
Yeah, I think I might rather be Jund than Timur. Like I can respect.
I just don't know how much we need out of the blue.
The blue's only in the sideboard, right? But if you were Jund, you could get more value creatures. And really, you know what I don't like about this deck? It's something you brought up previously. This deck has like no game plan against the Scarab God, right? You can't stop it from hitting even after sideboarding, right? You can't negate the Scarab God. What are you going to do? Like double up on the Scarab God with a Magma Spray? Like this
deck looks incredibly bad against the Scarab God.
Yeah, like if you played black, you just like remove it from game or something, or discard it out of their hand or Lost Legacy it, or something like that. You have some game plan against the Scarab God. This deck is just like going to get tempoed by a black blue deck, and then they're going to lay the Scarab God, and then all those 4/4 or 4 whatever flyers or 2-for-1 exploring guys are just going to be on the Scarab God squad.
Yeah. Yep. So I don't know. I mean, I also think there's something to be said about just having good mana, though.
Yeah, but I don't think the mana's so bad if you go Jund. Like, there's a lot of bridging lands, and
there's a difference though between not so bad and actually good.
Fair enough.
Like, we don't have Attune with Aether anymore. It's not trivial.
I agree, but obviously, I think one of the incentives to playing Jund colors is you could play like 12 exploring guys and like the 2 and the 3 slots, and that's going to be, I think, hopefully very helpful to.
Would you really play 12?
I think I would, yeah.
Why?
Because I heard from a little birdie that just a little more grind might be good.
Yeah, I know, but are you going to cut Longtusk Cub or are you going to play 12 twos?
Well, I'm not going to play Voltaic Brawler. That's one thing.
I'm not talking about that.
Oh.
I'm saying, are you going to play 12 twos?
Yeah, I think I'd play more twos.
You're just going to play 3 colors of 2-drops.
I don't know. I didn't actually make the deck yet. Because I like Thrashing Brontodon still.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I wouldn't play 12.
All these, the Rekindling Phoenix and the Jadelight Ranger are both double. And you're just going to play a black 2-drop?
All right, well, probably doesn't make sense if you put it that way.
I mean, you could play the Merfolk Branchwalker if you really want.
Yeah, I think I'd rather the Merfolk Branchwalker than Voltaic Brawler if I was trying to go that direction. Yeah, maybe I only play 8. That's a little more grind. And he could be sizable sometimes. He's about as big as the Voltaic Brawler when the Voltaic Brawler's not getting energetic. They're on par with each other.
So here's a thought for you, man. If you play 4 Jadelight Ranger and 4 Merfolk Branchwalker, that's 8 Merfolk, right?
Sure.
And if you play 4 Thrashing Brontodon, and then maybe some Death Gorge Scavengers or Trapjaw Raptors or something,
or Carnage Tyrants. Maybe not Carnage Tyrants.
Yeah, I don't know about Carnage Tyrants, but or I'm just saying that's 8 dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So then, like, what if we had, 4 gifted Aetherborn? No, seriously, 4 gifted Aetherborn, And then maybe some of that of the new vampire that draws a card, the 1/1.
Like
the Dust
vampire
Legion Zealot.
Is that like the Elvish Visionary guy for vampires?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we could possibly play that guy. And then maybe, for pirates, maybe we play the Kite Sail Freebooter.
Are we just having like the United Nations of Ixalan? Is that just a party in our deck?
Grim Captain's Call. 3 mana, draw 4.
I think this is further than I'm willing to go.
We don't even need the red anymore. Once we have black, and we can play like Fatal Push and Vraska's Contempt.
Yeah, but what do you mean we don't need the red anymore? The whole point of this deck is to chain up our advantages into Rekindling Phoenix and Glorybringer.
Oh, I thought. Okay, I guess I'm thinking of a different deck.
Yeah, you're thinking of an Ixalan Tea Party.
Dude, how in the world is this deck going to beat the Scarab God?
Well, the whole point of adding black in my mind was to add cards that could interact with the Scarab God at least after sideboarding.
But are you really going to just play double black, double green, and double red?
I've done crazier things than that.
That doesn't seem weird to you?
Weird is not. That's not a word I would apply to this. No. Ambitious. Dude, something I might try and reject. But I tried that, it didn't work out.
Here's a thought for you. Like, what if instead of like having blue lands, what if like I guess they're not. This isn't really that big of a deal. But like I was gonna say, what if we had like a couple scavenger grounds in here?
Scavenger grounds. So just to mess with the Scarab God?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
And other stuff too.
Yeah, but our mana's already a little.
Other people's Rekindling Phoenixes? Yeah.
I guess you could try that, but I'm not super down for that one. I would try it if you thought that was a great idea, though.
It's a great idea. I don't know if it's very good, though.
I respect your. All right, let's look at the other Green-Red Monsters deck.
Yes, this one's.
Tournament.
Yep. Timur Dinosaurs.
No, I thought we were looking at Green-Red Monsters by Logan Berryman.
No, I wanted to talk about Timur again. Let's get the Timur decks out of the way.
To All right, so which tournament are we looking at?
Sean Joyce, 7th place with Timur Dinosaurs at the Classic.
The Classic. All right, opposite end of the room, Timur Dinosaurs. All right, so I like this deck already. The first cards I'm looking at, 2 Carnage Tyrant. Boom. 7/6 for 6. He's got Drover the Mighty, Regisaur Alpha, Rekindling Phoenix, Ripjaw Raptor, Galta Primal Hunter. My God, this deck seems even worse against the Scarab God. He doesn't even have like Magma Spray in his. He has 1 Magma Spray after sideboarding.
Race.
This is a slower deck than the other deck.
He's got 2 Deathgorge Scavengers after sideboarding.
I mean, that thing has 2 toughness. Like, I just don't think the Scarab God.
2 toughness. No. You put the Deathgorge Scavenger down when the Scarab God is dead, and it never comes back because you exile it.
Yeah, but how do you get the Scarab God into the graveyard?
It trades.
With what? This deck has 2 Abrades and 1 Magma Spray after sideboarding. Like, you're not going to catch the Scarab God with, like, attack Sweltering Suns. Like,
if you
Scavenger, how much mana do you have? Right? Like,
if you play, like, 2 Reckless Rages on it...
This is not a plausible situation.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Like, I mean, I guess like if you were so
Admiral's Orders, which is hard to cast. That's really hard to cast.
I mean, it's not that this is like a bad deck idea or anything. It's just
not at all
very good against the Scarab God to me.
No, it doesn't.
All right, let me.
Here's the thing. I just don't think that if you're going to go to the trouble of playing dinosaurs,
yeah,
it's weird to not play with the best one. He's got 2 copies in the sideboard, but I think that I would play with 2 more, and then I would move them all to the main deck.
You're referring to Thrashing Brontodon?
Yes.
Yeah, he's, because it's actually reasonable that you could have been referring to Death Gorge Scavenger. That guy's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not one of the top 3 green dinosaurs in this deck, but...
No.
I do like Drover of the Mighty with Reckless Rage, though. And not just Drover. Obviously, it's way better with stuff like Ripjaw Raptor.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because you can turn the drawback into upside because by the Raptor taking 2, you'll draw a card. There's also in Ixalan. Now he doesn't have it here, but depending on how committed you are to the enrage thing, I mean, you could in theory you could play that 2/3 that gives you the extra basics. The ranging Raptors. And it puts them into play taps, so you're actually accelerating. So, if you play the Ranging Raptor on 4, it puts you straight into Carnage Tyrant. Or if you play Drover on 2, same thing, you're straight into Carnage Tyrant, but it just curves perfect.
Yeah, I think,
and it lives. It lives from the...
So speaking of things that live, what do you think structurally about using Reckless Rage and Sweltering Suns as your main sources of creature interaction?
Well, I think that Sweltering Suns is dope in a deck with Ripjaw Raptor. I just think that it's a little bit inefficient when it kills your Drovers. It makes your Regis or Alpha a lot worse.
A lot worse.
It unnecessarily leaves you vulnerable to your Rekindling Phoenixes getting interacted with. I think that there's worlds where you can play Sweltering Suns and all that here. It's just that I don't know. It seems... I don't know that the metagame is so vulnerable to Sweltering Suns that we need to just shove all in on it.
I mean, I haven't played this deck in particular. Maybe it's real weak to some sort of Vampire Swarm or something, and Sweltering Suns is
if it was really
to that.
Maybe,
but I doubt that though.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, are you talking all the tokens and stuff?
Yeah, or even that mono white Squadron Hawk deck. The ones, the Vampire Squadron Hawk guys.
Well, that one's different. Sweltering Suns would be good against that one, but if you're playing against all the tokens, dude, what about the deal 1 AOE deal 1 cantrip? If you're playing with, I wish I knew the names of, I don't know, myself, you, people.
Patrick Chapin. I'm Michael J. Flores.
The one with the 3 dinosaurs. Shake the foundation. If you shake the foundation, deal 1 damage to each creature without flying. Draw a card. It's an instant even. Being able to enrage your dinosaurs with a cantrip and also take down the tokens and some of the red aggro creatures might not be the bad. Plus, here's the thing I really like about this. With Shake the Foundation, it may not seem intuitive that it says specifically to creatures without flying, but I actually think Shake the Foundation is an excellent answer to Rekindling Phoenix. Because you kill the egg.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? They trade the Rekindling Phoenix, or you just kill it with a braid or whatever, right? But, being able to get rid of the egg, the elemental, I suppose it is, that turns into the Phoenix, that's exactly what you want. You don't believe, huh?
I think that these is it's a kind of roundabout way of solving a common problem.
Yeah, but it's just, if it's already in your deck...
Let me tell you where I thought you were going to start. You said, hey, let's look at the 5th place decks, right?
Well, before switching, there is one more card in this deck that I think it'd be good to, or 2 cards that I'd like to touch on before switching. Sure. I guess 3 even. So first of all, Thunderherd Migration is pretty transparently, it's pretty straightforward though, right? It's pretty sweet, but it's just a rampant growth you can use if you're playing a dinosaur deck.
Well, it's insane in this deck, right? Because this deck
it's not insane. It's literally just a rampant growth at best in this deck.
Well, a rampant growth is a really powerful card, in my opinion.
it's not insane. You're even giving your opponent a heads up that you have a Regis or Alpha on the horizon. And this deck only has 14 dinosaurs. Now, you do have 3 commune with the dinosaurs, which will help untap it. But, like, your Thunderherd Migration on turn 2, just in the dark, is only untapped, you know, what is it, like 90% of the time? Which is a lot. But, like, it's not for sure.
I'm the sort that will... I was, you know, real willing to play Ruin in their wake. You know, I think that 2-mana Rampant Growth is overpowered for Standard generally, and if I can figure out a way to make it good, I think I'd be open to that. So I do think that that's real powerful in this deck.
What do you think about Ghalta, though?
Ghalta,
Primal Hunger at 4x.
Well, I don't know how often it's real cheap, right? So the cheapest it can be is 2. Regisaur Alpha makes it, just Regisaur Alpha by itself makes it 5. That's pretty good, right?
And then you're attacking.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You have
awesome.
a Regisaur Alpha in play.
Oh yeah, so that's like
if you just untap with a Carnage Tyrant, you can cast it. If you untap with a Regisaur Alpha, you can cast it. If you untap with a Ripjaw Raptor, you're well on your way.
Well, actually, let's think about this. Let's say you have a Regisaur Alpha, right? So you have 7 to start. Then you just played a Ripjaw Raptor. You used 4 to cast a Ripjaw Raptor. Then that's like 11.
Hold on. So, okay, picture this.
You could just chain both of those in the next turn, right?
I'm saying
5
turn
to 6.
Turn 2, Drover of the Mighty.
Okay.
Turn 3, Ripjaw Raptor. And then turn 4, Ghalta. That's pretty good.
Ghalta's pretty good, I guess. You know what's really good with Ghalta?
And you have a 12-12.
You know what's awesome with Ghalta? Scarab God.
It's awesome with Ghalta?
Yeah. Scarab God's just like, you know what's awesome? A 12-12. For 4.
What are you talking about? Getting it back? It won't be a 12-12. It'll be a 4-4.
Oh, I guess you're right. It's still awesome. It's just awesome.
That doesn't sound like that. That sounds like that's the Scarab God, not Ghalta.
Yeah. The Scarab God and Ghalta are...
So here's the what I really wanted to know about. What is the deal with Silent Gravestone?
So Silent Gravestone is one of Sean's sideboard cards. It costs 1 for an artifact. Cards in graveyards can't be the targets of spells or abilities.
Oh, okay. What do you suppose stats for?
It might slow down the Scarab God. 4 and a tap, exile Silent Gravestone.
Slow down the Scarab God.
Cards from graveyards, draw a card. It's also real good against Torrential Gearhulk.
Right, but I'm just saying that if you just have a Silent Gravestone in play, they can't, like, their Scarab God and they're the Scarab God and Torrential Gearhulk. They're just big bodies. They don't have the sauce anymore.
They become thoroughly mediocre.
They are very mortal.
I mean, they still both have a little bit of extra juice, right? They've got
5/6 flash and 5/5 undying. Yeah,
they got some like unkillableness. Got a little scry maybe still. I don't know. It depends on the order, right? But
right.
Yeah, that seems pretty awesome.
What I'm wondering is, ought the Silent Gravestones be in William Ho's Timur monster deck that we were speaking of earlier? Maybe that's the answer.
That might be fantastic because remember these are essentially week 1 decks, right?
Yeah,
they
are.
The new technology hasn't been disseminated yet. Maybe 4x Silent Gravestone, right? The card is super cheap.
I don't know. Diminishing returns. I mean, you can cantrip later, but it's expensive to cantrip.
I think they had to make it expensive to cantrip so that if
definitely, I'm not judging.
1 to cantrip, it would have been 4 of in all the main decks, and no one would play Scarab God anymore. Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, that's a great call out, Patrick. Awesome.
So now to switch over,
Scarab God.
The Scarab God.
The Scarab God, I apologize.
I know he's earned it. All right, Green Red Monsters by Logan Berryman. And this is one, first of all, notably, there's another appearance by Ghalta Primal Hunger, but this time as a one-of.
Yeah.
Right, but there is also one Thrashing Brontodon and one Deathgorge Scavenger. This is like a whole dinosaur suite.
Yeah, but it doesn't even have Commune with Dinosaurs.
Right.
So it's just a random distribution of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
like if you had Commune with Dinosaurs, I'd get it. You know, like, oh, sometimes it's a land, sometimes we can tutor.
This one, instead of Servant of the Conduit, we've got your Merfolk Branchwalker. I buy it. I buy it.
Yeah.
But then instead of Voltaic Brawler or Longtusk Cub, we've got Scrap Heap Scrounger.
I think he has a reason for both of those cards, though, right? So Scrap Heap Scoundrel's got 3 power, and Merfolk Branchwalker often has 3 power. And when you have 3 power, you can power up Heart of Kirin. Nice and solid. Yep.
And notably, though, Voltaic Brawler does too.
Yes, it does.
And you know who else does? Thrashing Brontodon.
Yeah. You know, we know a card is missing in this deck.
Yes, I do. Unlicensed. If it's unlicensed.
Of course. Freaking lootly. This deck has.
Of course. That's the thing that jumped out to me. This deck with 4 unlicensed disintegrations looks like a contender to me. Like a contender to be. Not just. I mean, this deck looks pretty sweet too. But I think this deck's 4 unlicensed disintegrations away from what I want to be playing.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was saying earlier. And I was like, hey, what about Jund? Right? Like, Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Heart of Kirin.
Pia Nalar.
Right, like that's pretty good. That's already 9. You're already like making some pretty good progress, and I don't know that we couldn't sneak a couple more, and I don't know that we couldn't live with it just being murder, an easy to cast murder sometimes.
And I would actually just be super willing to slice off some of just like the nice to haves, you know, like. I don't know how much I need Ronus the Indomitable in this deck. If I'm going unlicensed disintegration, if I'm flying in the air with Heart of Kirin, you know, we can go that way, I think.
I also think that you know, you don't need 4 braids as much when you've got all the Thrashing Brontodons that I hope that we'll end up with. And
unlicensed disintegration helps you out on the other side, right?
Exactly.
Brontodon on one side, unlicensed disintegration on the other side, and both of them are.
And I'm not saying cut all the abrades. Play some.
I mean, you could be in a situation
if you want
deciding in a braid, right?
You could do that too. Yeah.
So, talk to me about Naturalize. So,
I also just think you won't have. I think that Naturalize is a bad Brontodon.
Well, I think it's a bad lot of things, right? If you, you could either, you know, he's got a braid already, and he's got 1 Brontodon in the main deck. 1 Brontodon on the sideboard. I don't know if about any of these naturalizes. I think if you want some instant, you want some flexibility. What about the cycling one that you know?
Nah, it's to hit enchantments.
Yeah,
there's better ways to hit artifacts if that's your jam. I'm just saying the Brontodon hits enchantments too.
I agree that. But. In terms of 5th place decks, the one I actually really thought we were going to talk about was from the Team Constructed tournament, Christopher Connett's deck. This is my favorite deck of the weekend. I bring, you know, probably not surprising.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got unlicensed disintegration.
It does.
But you've got a lot of other jams too, man.
Yeah, but there are a lot of good decks this weekend. But this deck's got Bomat Courier, Scrap. I think this is a deck where Scrap Heap Scrounger actually just makes a ton of sense. There's a bunch of decks that we look at.
It's got unlicensed disintegration too, though.
Yeah, and it's got but there's tons of decks this week. It's just like, oh, I'm just going to play Scrap Heap Scrounger. Scrap Heap Scrounger is a good card, but it really makes sense in this deck, right? He's got Bomat Courier, Scrap Heap Scrounger.
He's only got 9 I guess he's got 11 counting Pia,
Aether Sphere Harvester, and he's got 1 on the sideboard.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's fine.
I think this deck's good. I think it's.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know if I get behind Spire of Industry, on the other hand. That seems like an odd choice for this deck, but.
Really? I don't know if I hate the Spire of Industry. It might not be good enough, but it's, you know, it's interesting. Like, for instance, this deck's 1-drops, 4 of them are colorless anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
You need to but you want to. Although I guess I don't know. Why do you even need the double red? Yeah, Spire of Industry looks like kind of a bad swamp in this deck.
Yeah, I'm not into it.
Yeah,
but I was into the deck generally.
You could play Aether Hub if you're just that into that. Is Fanatical Firebrand really the best one drop to go along with the Courier? I mean, I get that it's like a haste theme deck, but like, is it? Is this really the best?
I actually love Fanatical Firebrand. So Fanatical Firebrand is R for a goblin pirate, but he looks like a monkey. He looks like a monkey with a sword, right? For a 1/1 haste, so half of him is what is it? Just the 1/1 haste goblin.
Raging Goblin,
right? So he starts with Raging Goblin, but he has an additional ability which is tap, sacrifice Fanatical Firebrand. It deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So he's not exactly Mog Fanatic, but he's a lot of Mog Fanatic to him, as well as all of Raging Goblin to him. I think this card, if this card isn't good, I mean, I hate to say it, if this card isn't good, I don't like it, but it seems like it should be good. It's like such a,
if it isn't good, you don't like it? Okay, thanks for the deep cuts.
If this card isn't good, like I don't want it. Remember, like if Tetsamok isn't good, I don't want to be in that world, right? I feel like this card should be great. Maybe it's not, but I feel like it should. It's got all of Raging Goblin and most of Mog
Your
Fanatic.
feelings are valid.
So to answer your question, I like it. It just puts pressure on the opponent, either on turn 1 or can initiate later. 1 point at a time is not insignificant when you're playing such heavy haste and with unlicensed disintegration to finish the opponent off. Got a little direct damage in the form of shocks and Chandras and big haste coming from Glorybringer, etc. I think every little point that you're starting on turn 1 can be very helpful.
Sure. I just, yeah, it's probably fine. In my day, we'd occasionally want to hit for 2, but it's probably the right one to do.
I'd love to hit for 2, given the option, but I think this guy might have something to him, and he's so cute. He's such a cutie. He's got his little sword.
Okay, dude. So Mardu Vehicles winning that tournament, the team constructed open in the hands of Julian John and his team. But it's update to Mardu Vehicles. Obviously, Mardu Vehicles has lost a lot over the the rotations and so on. So to begin with, at the 1 spot, 4 Toolcraft Exemplar and then 4 Bomat Courier. And part of the reason for playing Bomat Courier here is that without, I guess there's just no Thraben Inspector. 1, there's no Thraben Inspector kind of like taking up space, but 2, there's a desire to have more artifacts because you really want Toolcraft Exemplar turned on.
Of course, right? I mean,
that's more important than getting unlicensed disintegration turned on.
Oh. I don't know if it's more important.
It is, because unlicensed disintegration is still a murder, right? But Toolcraft Exemplar is, if you don't have Toolcraft Exemplar turned on, that is a dork.
He is just a dwarf. Right? He's a small guy.
Well, I don't know about all that. That's insensitive. But he's also an artificer. So
he's an artificer when there's an artifact, and then he's rumbling. He's rumbling to your face when there's an artifact, but elsewise he's just a little attack.
Veteran Motorist is not too strange of a 2-drop. It's not the easiest to cast, though, so I'm a little worried about that. But at least Bomat Courier helps transpire Vindistriana a little earlier. I don't know. I 2 PNOR, 1 Amit Eternal. I just do not believe in Amit Eternal. Maybe I'm wrong.
An odd choice for this archetype.
I could be wrong. I don't share the love for the Amit Eternal that you and Julian have. I do like the Ongroth, the Flame Chained in the sideboard, though.
Wait, why am I looped into the Amit Eternal lovers for Mardu Vehicles?
You said you love Amit Eternal, and I can only extrapolate that you meant in this deck.
So I find it to be an odd choice in this deck. For one thing, it stretches the mana in a weird way. It's the only like dedicated black card in the main deck. Obviously,
no Fatal Push.
Oh, you're right, Fatal Push. It's the only.
But that said, I don't know that you need Fatal Pushes.
I mean, he's going strikes, right?
Dude, why is Hazard definitely better than Rekindling Phoenix here? Maybe it is.
I don't know. I actually don't think that's
I don't know. Right, I don't think it's conclusive either. I could imagine playing 2 Phoenix, 2 Hazret. Hell, even play a Chandra. I don't know. I just think the Phoenix is that bird.
Do you think Harvester is great in this deck?
Aether Sphere Harvester?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Harvester in a lot of decks. I think, like, for this deck...
I like Aether... I do like Aether Sphere Harvester in a deck with Toolcraft Exemplar and Unlicensed Incineration. Yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying Aether Sphere...
And I think you need Spire of Industry to make the mana work.
But I'm just saying, like, is that the artifact that you want, versus...
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Versus what? What's the alternative?
The 3 casting cost one that becomes a 5/5 that can be colors.
Definitely, I want the Harvester.
Okay.
The only reason I want the other one is if I was just so convinced that I needed a 4th color, where it was like, yeah, I'm just going to be playing like Ceremonious Rejection or Spell Pierce or something. Just, negate something. I don't know.
Yeah, Anger at the Flame Chained here. It seems awesome in this deck.
I do love the Scavenger Grounds in the sideboard too. I think more decks should just be playing Scavenger Grounds right now.
In the sideboard?
And I think main or board. Main or board. It's actually, it's Mardu Vehicles has a pretty common move of getting a little bigger after sideboard. Mm-hmm. And here we see two Fumigates, an Angrath, a couple Cycle of the Wreckages, a Chandra. Just getting a little bit more control and getting a little bigger. And I think Scavenger Ground is a great way to be able to better support your mana base, like for a slightly higher curve, while also having some spell-like abilities out of it, particularly since one of the common areas where you're going to want a higher land count is against decks that have the Scarab God in them or more.
So, I mean, the strategy here in a lot of matchups is to bring in Settle the Wreckage and Fumigate, and then try to be like a mid-range control deck?
Right, exactly.
So when do you want to do that? Like against other kind of low-to-the-ground aggro decks after game?
Well, no. So it's different, right? Like if you're playing against a control deck, you want to take out these Fatal Pushes. You want to take out these Lightning Strikes, right? Like you got plenty of stuff, but you want to have cards to bring in. And if you're taking out removal, and you're bringing in Angrath the Flame Chained and Chandra Torch of Defiance, Scavenger Ground's a great part of that plan. Cast out, Duresses. The low to the ground one is you obviously can load up on more removal, like the Fumigates and Sweltering Suns. Though that part of the plan you're obviously going to be doing if you're against more creature-based decks, but I actually think that Fumigate is it's not as important against like fat low to the ground ones as it is to bigger ones like red green monsters. That's where I think you want the Fumigate, is that Fumigate that's why we saw these red green decks splashing for negate, 2 different red green decks splashing for negate. Otherwise, they just can't beat a Fumigate. Now, maybe if you switch to black, you could get some other discard spell or something to try to... But if you're just going straight up, I mean, maybe you could try Heroic Intervention, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to have it at the right time, though, because the Red-Green Monsters deck... No, I guess you could do it if you had Negate anyway. It's just that Negate is also good if they spend their turn dropping a Planeswalker instead of just Fumigating.
Good, yeah. It's kind of non-intuitive, right? That the red-green, like a big red-green creature deck is siding in its negates against a deck that has like 21 creatures and is so fast offensively. But it makes sense. Their sideboard is just going in this either mass removal or...
Well, the other part is with the people with Fumigate. Sometimes the Fumigate people, are the approach of the Second Sons people.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And you desperately need the negate there. That's the spot where they just can't win without it. So still on the topic of kind of reworks to existing strategies, second place, Andreas Campion playing Green-Black Constrictor. Dude, I don't know. 3 Jade Light Ranger and 4 Merfolk Branchwalker in a deck with too many 2-drops anyway.
What does too many 2-drops mean? These guys seem really strong with Winding Constrictor.
They are. But so Jadelight Ranger is even better.
Oh, I'm sorry. You meant that it should have 4 Jadelight Ranger.
Correct. And 3. Sorry. And if you've only got room for 7, I would just tilt the other way. I just think Jadelight Ranger is so good in these Winding Constrictor decks.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a weird Aethersphere Harvester deck. Right?
Same. That's what I would really do is I would cut a Harvester for a 4th Jadelight Ranger.
And I know it's heresy for a Winding Constrictor deck, but Verder's Gearhulk seems like it's just going to eat the Abrade every single time.
I would still use 2, though, at least. I don't hate the 3rd. I just think it's such a big impact on the board.
It's potentially insane, right, if you've got the Constrictor and enough guys in play.
The thing is, I also think that Rishkar Pima Renegade is pretty good. Like, I think if you play 2 Verder's Gearhulk and you turn one of them into a Rishkar Pima Renegade, you know? I do like the Ravenous Chupacabras in this deck, though, by the way.
Yeah. I think Ravenous Chupacabra is great in this deck also. I think it seems kind of like a lazy catch-all to me.
Here's the thing, though. The thing I don't understand is why has everybody just gotten off Longtusk Cub?
Longtusk Cub makes very good sense to me. I think it's arguably better than Glintsleeve Siphoner in this deck.
I don't know. I like the Siphoner definitely better than the Longtusk Cub here. But I think that I could see the Longtusk Cub anyway. Like, if we're going to push this having too many 2-drops thing, to begin with, we don't need the Aethersphere Harvester either, the other one. Second of all, instead of a couple of these Verder's Gearhulks, we could have more Longtusk Cubs.
Why do we have 24 lands? That's actually what I'd ask. I think.
Yeah, because there's no Attune with Ethers. You're saying you want 25?
No, I mean, but we can just get towards our stuff a little bit more because we've got all of these.
I think you've forgotten how much you were using Attune with Ether. I don't think 24 is low.
All right.
Maybe actually, you know what though? You're right. Merfolk Branchwalkers and Jadelight Rangers. Maybe that's doing enough. That might actually be doing enough. That's fair. That is fair.
I think I'd try 23.
I would try 23. You're right. You are right. I do like the Hot Ship Oasis. If you're Deadlands, I could take it or leave it, but it seems fine.
Yeah, how do you feel about If You're Deadlands? It's always unimpressive to me.
Yeah, it's unimpressive to me too. It has consistently underperformed. It's okay. It's fine. It's not the worst. I like Hot Ship Oasis so much more.
It's so much mana for so not that big of an impact on the board. That's
I agree.
And it's not like it's fast, right? So
it's not like it's fast.
Yeah,
yeah. Like you're saying because you can only play it as a sorcery.
Yeah, like you can't even do a trick with it. It's
just
like, oh, hold still for a second. I have an effect. It's going to take my whole turn. It's
so what do you think? What do you think of Golden Demise in the sideboard?
I like it. I think that Golden Demise is. I think this card is going to be pretty substantially played. It's going to find a place where it may actually more than one place where I think it's going to be meaningful. Like I really like it because you can have these situations where you just have a bunch of guys, and you get into standoff, and it creates an asymmetrical situation.
Who do you board Deadeye Tracker in against?
Approach of the Second Sun.
Maybe.
Right? You want to kind of get your.
You're going to spend your mana every turn that way?
I mean, look at the structure of this deck in Game 1. What do you think your chances are against Approach of the Second Sun in Game 1?
Not good.
0, right? Like, they have to just be completely
not
blank.
0.
Yeah, but
you're not the slowest.
They got blank a lot.
You're not worse than 25%, right? Or 20%. You're probably not worse than 20%.
So they got to blank a lot for you to lose, right? So after sideboarding, what are you bringing in? Lifecrafter's Bestiary and Duress? That's what we've got on
Vraska Relic Seeker.
Vraska Relic Seeker, okay.
It's not that exciting.
It's not. They're not scared of that.
It's playable. No, I'm not saying that this deck is set up against the Approach.
So all I'm saying is
also nobody did well with Approach.
Yeah, like cards like Harvester and Vraska's Contempt, they could jump straight into the sideboard as far as I'm concerned, right? So and Ravenous Chupacabra is not doing anything for you either, right? So I think Deadeye Tracker at least is keeping your deck moving, right? That's. And I know
I'm not saying that you wouldn't bring it in if you had it.
Yeah.
I'm saying, what if you just had anything else?
Yeah, it's not that exciting. It's like it doesn't really slow down the Scarab God or anything. It's
like, for instance, what if you had Doomfall?
You love Doomfall.
I do love Doomfall. That kills the Scarab God or Approach.
Yeah, I think Doomfall is better than Deadeye Tracker.
Right, and that was literally the first thing on the top of my head. There could be some other things that are better. All right, how about this, man? Here's the blue-white deck. Not blue-white Approach. Blue-white Auras. In the hands of Jim Davis. Third place is the classic in the other end of the room.
Yep. This was my real
This
favorite.
one is a little brewski. This one's a brewski. Woo!
All right, so this deck is...
Shout out to Jim Davis.
This deck is my actual favorite. This deck has, like, few, if any, good cards, right? I think it's...
God, I would... Oh, my God. Can you... Dude, I am... It would be such a delight if like, to unveil a deck like this at a Pro Tour and just be like, yep, that's me. I'm just... So let's see. To begin with, Sacred Cat and Skymarcher Aspirant. Okay. You know, Skymarcher Aspirant we already talked about. Great one-drop.
Yeah, pups get the beat on.
Sacred Cat, I believe it. Another vampire and another cat. You know, Adorned Pouncer and Adanto Vanguard. Oh, okay. Sure.
19 creatures. A solid 19 creatures.
And then 4 SRAM Senior Edificer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then 4 Curious Obsession, the new Curiosity variant where you have to attack with a creature every turn or it'll go away. It doesn't have to be this one, but it could be whatever. But it also only works on actual combat damage. And then, but the upside is it also gives +1/+1. I think Curious Obsession is great.
Oh yeah, you could just put Curious Obsession on a Sacred Cat on turn 2, and it'll be big and linking life, and
you put Curious Obsession on Adorned Pouncer, and you draw 2 cards.
And you will also smash them for their entire life cycle.
And if you put Curious Obsession on your Adanto Vanguard, you can attack and the Abyss them. Because you can just, like, pay the life when they block.
Yep. You can.
If you put Curious Obsession on the Aspirant, it helps you get towards the City's Blessing, and then the Aspirant flies over, and you draw a card.
Yeah, actually, I think it's notable about Skymarcher Aspirant. If you get to Ascend, if you have the City's Blessing, it's because you had so many goofball enchantments in play, right? Like, it's really the only way to get there. Like, stacks and stacks of Cartouche of Solidarity.
Well, there's also one trial of Solidarity.
Oh, there is.
Bada bing, bada boom, with 8 cartouches to let you run the sick rebuys.
So this deck is running essentially on an engine of SRAM, Senior Edificer, and Auras, right? So it's got Cartouche of Knowledge, the blue Cartouche, Cartouche of Solidarity, the white Cartouche, and that puts multiple permanents into play. That's pretty.
Yeah, and the Cartouche of Knowledge cantripping contributes to getting more permanents.
Yep, and then
go ahead.
Oh, Curious Obsession. I was just naming another aura.
Well, Legion's Landing is another 2 permanents for 1 mana.
I agree.
You know that's pretty good. And then it's also just a good card. It is funny playing 3 Sacred Cat, 3 Legion's Landing. Just the natural split. And then what do you think of 3 Baffling End?
So I looked at Baffling End and I'm like, does this trigger SRAM? Look back at Baffling End, look back at SRAM. No, it does not trigger SRAM. But it's a pretty cool card. It puts a permanent into play while removing one of the opponent's permanents from play. All right, so...
Yeah, but don't you kind of want to trigger SRAM? You know in your heart you do.
I do, of course I do. But this card's like pretty flexible. It's like a smother, right? But, puts a permanent into play.
Yeah, but there's other ones. Like, there's other ways to accomplish that, right? Like, is what you really want to smother?
I'm a little...
Like, for instance... Oh, go ahead.
I'm just a little surprised that there weren't more Squire's Devotions. Like, there's one in the sideboard, and that's it.
Squire's Devotion's pretty sweet, and it is 2 permanents again. But I don't know. Look how many of his creatures already have lifelink.
The only reason I think that is because, this deck has already got 8 cartouches, right? I mean,
yeah.
Squire's Devotion is pretty cartouche-esque, and
True.
And of like a pretty popular cartouche, right? Like a cartouche people would splash for. That's I just my intuition is that this card is pretty good.
Yeah, it looks pretty decent. Is there any chance that he should be using another like Solemn Recruit as an additional double striker?
Oh, I don't know. He doesn't even have 20 creatures. He doesn't have like the 4th Sacred Cat.
Yeah, but I'm not saying the Sacred Cat is sacred.
No. Some of these cards, I don't like Slash of Talons at all.
You don't like Slash of Talons?
No, I think it's really inconsistent.
In the sideboard?
Yeah.
What about Sheltering Light and Baffling End as, like, is really what you want is a mix of some amount of pacifisms and some amount of tricks? Is that really, I mean, I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know. I think there's something here, though. Like, this is an interesting start.
I think this is very exciting.
I like Dive Down. I wonder if Dive Down is supposed to be in place of these Sheltering Lights in the main deck.
Well, Dive Down was played already in the blue-green Pummeler energy kind of deck already, right?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So Sheltering Lights got Indestructible and Scry 1, and Dive Down's got Hexproof and +0/+3. I think I'd rather have Scry 1 than 3 toughness most of the time.
What about Hexproof, though?
I mean, like, what does Hexproof do that Indestructible doesn't do? Right?
Vraska's Contempt.
All right. Good point.
Cast out.
And bouncing, right? But there's not that much bouncing.
Yeah.
Are those cards good against this? Because, both Vraska's Contempt and Cast Out are very expensive, and the creatures in this deck are very cheap. So, I don't know.
That's true.
I think it's like an okay matchup. I think I would, unless I had like a ton of cartouches or whatever on my guy. I think I'd probably be okay if somebody cast out my Sky Marcher Aspirant or whatever.
Yep. Jumping back over to the other event.
Yep.
Dude. Jose Rios, Grixis Control.
7th place in the team constructed. So he has a very clever package of 5 creatures in the main deck, 3 Torrential Gearhulks, and 2 the Scarab Gods.
Yeah, this is a classic config. I think this should be the default for... It doesn't mean you should always do it, but I like starting from a place of assuming 3 Torrential Gearhulk and 2 the Scarab Gods.
And any new cards at all?
I can't buy 1 Hieroglyphic Illumination. I would play more.
He's got 4 Glimmer of Genius, 1 Hieroglyphic Illumination, especially in a deck with Search for His content, right? I think Hieroglyphic Illumination tends to outperform Glimmer of Genius in Search for His content decks.
Yeah, and it's not like this deck is like... I mean, it has 4 Harness Lightnings, so maybe that's enough. But, like, once you have Vraska's Contempt... Like, but here's the thing that's weird to me. Splashing Vraska's Contempt. This is a deck... Like, don't get me wrong, I get splashing the Scarab God or 2. But to use 3 Fatal Push, 2 Vraska's Contempt, done? I don't know. Like, why make your mana so bad? It's not like you need the Fatal Pushes. The red removal does that stuff too.
So you want to be like just blue-red splash the Scarab God?
Maybe. I'm not even sure, man. I don't know. Maybe I want the Scarab God. But I could imagine just being blue-red and having good mana.
Oh, man. I mean, with the banning of Ramen Up Ruins, blue-red, I think, could be in in contention again. I tested a fair amount of blue-red in maybe not the last format, but some previous formats. It's real bad against control mirrors where the opponent has the Scarab God. That's what I found. Like, the Scarab God was just Trump, so there was no reason not to play it. Yeah,
there's so many counterspells.
Yeah, but they have counterspells too.
Yeah, and the Scarab God costs 5, and the Essence Scatter costs 2.
Yeah, but
I just have not had the experience of the Scarab God being the thing. Maybe.
I mean, like, both think for a second. Both your decks are doing similar things, right? They've got card drawing and counter spells, and want to play a lot of permanents and have like powerful, flexible answers, right? Those are the conditions on both. But in order to win the game, somebody's going to have to try to do something at some point, right? And if they're countering your creatures, you're countering their creatures, and the last creature that somebody resolves is the Scarab God, all those previously countered creatures suddenly all join.
Whoa. Okay, so to start with, I'm already playing 4 Magma Sprays. So, I can just trade 2 of my... Don't get me wrong, it's not like I want to trade 2 cards, but as my backup, I can trade a Harness Lightning or an Abrade plus a Magma Spray for the Scarab God. That's something, right?
Oh, no, and then if great. I mean, you're happy to do that. Who cares if it's 2 for 1? Because
and their hand has Fatal Push.
Yeah, but there's no Longtusk Cubs to kill in this matchup.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. They have Fatal Push, and it's doing nothing. My Magma Sprays that are doing nothing at least partner up with my Harness Lightning that's doing nothing and kill the Scarab God.
All right.
Plus, I just don't believe that's what it's really about. Here are the things I think it's going to... So, 1, I think that you want to hit your land drops. I would play more than 25 land. 2, I would like to play with the new land from Rivals, the colorless one, Arch of Arazka. I want to play one of those.
I would definitely play one of those. I
could imagine playing more, but I think the mana's harder in blue-red. I do think the mana's harder. But I would play one of those, and I would play a couple Field of Ruins. Maybe I'd play one of each. Maybe I'd play 2 Arch. I wouldn't play 2 Arch. I'd play 1 Arch, though.
Arch is real good. Talk about a card that has diminishing returns, though. Like, how many Arches are you going to
I think activate? 1. I think 0.3 is how many I'm going to activate, so I think I will play with 1. And then just not use it a bunch.
Yeah, but it taps for mana.
It does. So I like one of those. I think that can break open a control mirror. And then I think that fighting over the Search for Azkantas, if I have a couple Field of Ruins, I think I'll be able to win some of those battles. And then I like playing with some card draw spells. I like 4 Hieroglyphic Illumination, and then maybe a couple Glimmers. I don't think it's time for pull. I don't think it's time for pull yet. But something I did like a lot here. So Gonti, Lord of Luxury. I think there might be. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I really think there's something on the horizon for somebody who wants to, like a mid-rangey deck. If you want to grind, man, think about a deck that just has like. Your 2s, I don't know if you even want these or not, but the first thing I thought of was like the Gifted Aetherborn and Glit Sleeve Siphoner. And at 4, if you've got Gontis and Ravenous Chupacabras, and then you could even play a second color. But there's something there, right? Like if you were to imagine, like I was picturing same deck, but like maybe even there's like Glorybringer and Rekindling Phoenix, and then like a bunch of just good removal cards, and then probably need some things that cost 3.
You need something to keep your deck going. I think that's the thing. Yeah, I think like you're not as fast.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, you do, and it's Azur's Gateway.
Oh well. Oh, then you just combo kill them, right?
You have Cut to Ribbons also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say you just combo kill them, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this is different. Let me think about this for a second. Because the problem is if you don't have, a little oomph kind of card, right, you're just slower than the beatdown decks, and you're
also
way
like
less
Immortal
powerful
Sun.
than the control decks.
I like Immortal Sun also, though. And so the Immortal Sun is interesting. In Black Red.
Deck?
Yep. So to begin with, so first of all, if you've got Gifted Aetherborn, Glint Sleeve Siphoner, Pia Noir, Ravenous Chupacabra, you're not the worst Anthem deck, right?
In the context that you have guys, right?
And then if you don't have any, like you just don't want to play Planeswalkers, and then great, right? And then at the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card, great. Right? And if you're having to like grind out somebody that has all these like Essence Scatters and Vraska's Contempts or whatever, right? Like it doesn't mean the Immortal Sun's everything, but it's like a nice aspect. And unlike all these Torrential Gearhulk decks, a black-red deck isn't flooded at 6. And plus your spells cost 1 less. So like that's something. That's not that big of a deal, but it's something.
Is there some kind of a Read the Bones that we could play?
Yeah, but they all suck.
Yeah, they all not.
You don't want them right now.
So that's, I think, what you would want to list. I guess Gonti is itself kind of a Read the Bones.
And right? Yes, and so is Ravenous Chupacabra.
Yeah.
And so is Glint Sleeve Siphoner.
Can we play, what's that, the Forecasting Cost Pirate that filters your hand and gets big?
Yeah, but we don't want to.
No? Okay.
No, I think we can do better. I think that Rekindling Phoenix and Ravenous Chupacabra and Gonti give us more good 4s than we can fit.
So what if, could we just play the 2 casting cost black exploring guy in this deck? We need to chain upwards, right?
Yeah, you can do that. That's okay.
But maybe not the vampire. The vampire might be a little weak for this strategy.
Yeah, no, if you want, like you could, if you want to just move completely in that direction, you could do that.
Because I'm pretty attracted to this idea of like all my guys are high value plays and trade well.
I mean, if you were really, really into it, you could also play that vampire, the 1/1 from the news that we just talked about, the Dusk Legion Zealot. I don't know. I feel like that one's just not quite enough rate. Dude, I don't know though. Is the Black Explorer one, is that even giving you enough? Maybe it is.
I don't know. He's like, I mean, half the time you're going to be mad. I think that's probably the case. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I wanted size.
You could just play Gifted Aetherborn and Glint Sleeve Siphoner and never be mad.
Yeah, those guys are both good.
Dude, you get to play Doomfalls all over the place.
You love Doomfall so much.
I do.
You love Doomfall like I love Jadelight Ranger. Maybe more.
No, I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know. I mean, Jadelight Ranger is a lot better than Doomfall.
But you're
like, I don't love Doomfall. I don't love Doomfall nearly as much as I love Jadelight Ranger.
Like, hey, let's play our blue-red control deck with Doomfall.
Yeah. Dude, so I get it. You're saying we should play a blue-red control deck with Jadelight Ranger.
In.
Yeah, okay.
In.
So speaking of Jadelight Ranger, Sultai Energy from Dan Jessup, which is really a black-green energy deck, but with the Scarab God and Nissa.
So did Dan? He finished third, right? In the
correct. Yep.
In the team construction. Yeah. So if you want to ruin the format, sure. Dan Jessup, Sultai Energy. This one is. It looks perfect to me on week 1, right? Super streamlined. Everything, every single card seems like.
I would play it. Maybe I'm a sucker, but I would play the 3rd Ravenous Chupacabra instead of the 3rd Bristling Hydra.
I mean, and I'd probably think about some Blossoming Defense, right? But this deck has got
maybe I actually wouldn't. I think that in the past I would.
Yeah.
But I think that the addition, like now, when you're playing a Jadelight Ranger, Merfolk Branchwalker, Ravenous Chupacabra style, I think that the value of Blossoming Defense is a little lower.
Oh, because your creatures are such good traders all the time anyway.
Right. Also, I think that when you're not playing Hostage Taker, I think that Ravenous Chupacabra doesn't need you get nothing out of the Blossoming Defense the way that you do with Hostage Taker.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big thing that's just so different than what we normally see for the Scarab God.
That's it. That's the
difference.
That's like the brand on this deck. Like it just seared into the side of this deck.
This might be a turning point. It might be that everybody was looking at the Scarab God all wrong.
Yeah, what if the Scarab God is like a Kamigawa dragon? You're just supposed to tap out with it at a high level of consistency, and then if they can stop it, they stop it. If they can't, they just die, right? So let's just put ourselves in the position to always be tapping out for it. Maybe that's one way to play it. Although, to be fair, there's a really, really strong argument for Blossoming Defense if that's the case. But yeah, I think this deck is phenomenal. I think if I like Jim Davis's deck the best because, you know, let's be honest, it's
got soul.
It's a collection of lovable misfits that come together for hilarity in this week's success. But
and all sorts of hijinks.
No two games are the same, right? With that deck,
I don't know about that one.
But this deck is just a murder machine. I mean, it seems awesome to me. Like the Branch Walkers into the Jade Light Rangers, and of course he's got, you know, the old favorites. He's got Glintsleeve Siphoner and Bristling Hydra and Servant of the...
And like everybody else, no Longtusk Cubs. Do you think they just thought Longtusk Cub was banned?
No.
I actually don't like Longtusk Cub in this deck, though.
Yeah, I mean, this deck doesn't even have the 2/3 guy that gives you extra +1/+1s.
Oh, so Winding Constrictor? Yeah. So what do you think of Matthew Garner's Ravenous Chupacabra deck? This is a blue-black control deck with the same 3 Torrential Gearhulks and 2 the Scarab Gods that everybody plays, but he's got 4 main deck Ravenous Chupacabras.
I'm not... That's a statement.
It is, and dude, I know he's after your heart. He's got a copy of Consign to Oblivion, and he can even consign his Ravenous Chupacabra.
He can consign his Torrential Gearhulk.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess I have to love this deck. You know, the thing is that we were talking about in a previous episode, I just didn't understand why blue-black control fell off the map, but maybe this is...
It was because of 2 reasons. One, it's not like you really wanted to play against Ramen Up Ruins to begin with.
Yeah.
And 2, the energy decks were able to, because of how easy they could fix their mana all the time, they could easily hit you from too many angles where they've got the Scarab God, and they've got negates, and they've got a good curve, and they've got Planeswalkers, and they've got Lifecrafters, Bestiary. Like, they're just hitting you from too many angles, and then they would also destroy your Search for Azcanta. But they just had every angle covered.
But now if you've got Ravenous Chupacabra into the Scarab God with duress and permission, that seems like you're covering all the bases against the kind of the mainline creature decks. And Moment of Craving, we have not talked about this card before. This card seems phenomenal to me.
This card's good.
I mean, it's a role player. Let's.
It is a great role player at being a role player.
Really good at its role.
It's comparable to like Shock, right?
I mean, gaining 2 life is really good, and I think there are a lot of situations...
I'm not saying it's not really good. I'm just saying it's comparable to Shock. You would eat up a Shock. You'd be in for a Shock, right? I'm just saying that it's not like, let's make sure that we're talking about the same thing. This is a Shock. This isn't like a Ravenous Chupacabra. So, okay, I know that you love the Devouring... what is it? Dude, what's your favorite one? The BB one?
Oh, Vicious Hunger?
Yeah.
Yeah?
This is so much better than Vicious Hunger.
Yeah, it's a... Yes. It's easier to cast. It's an instant. And it's -2/-2 instead of 2 damage. It's way better than Vicious Hunger. What I was going to say is it's an instant... I mean, there's only 2/+2 in this deck, but among other things, you can gang up on Hazoret with this card. Right? Like,
yeah.
We'll
see how much it really comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a... Maybe not the best, right? But...
After sideboarding, though, when you have 4...
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. You know, like, you have the opportunity...
I think I would play more Vraska's Contempt. I just think that the combination of Rekindling Phoenix and Hazoret, I think Rekindling Phoenix is such a big game, and that you're going to want to be. I mean, you can counter that stuff too, I guess, but.
Well, I think that Vraska's Contempt certainly should be a consideration for 4 of, at least after sideboarding in this deck. There's too many things that even like a Glorybringer, right, where the exile isn't that relevant. The relative amount of mana you're using to stop their insane threat is quite advantageous, and the life is just a nice little kicker.
Dude, can we get some Gontis in the sideboard?
I think Gonti would be great in the sideboard. I mean, he's got 1 Vizier of Many Faces. What do you think about that?
I love Vizier of Many Faces. I think the question is between 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah, my real question was the 1, right? So, Arguel's Bloodfast, making a comeback.
I do think that I see a more of a reason to only play 1. I would normally like 2, but I think the Ravenous Chupacabra is doing a little bit of Vizier of Many Faces work. It's not the same thing, but it takes a little pressure off of us, you know?
I can see that. I mean, I like Tetsamok Primal Death.
Yeah, same.
I like him. I think it's a little unusual for this archetype, so I think people might not have the right cards against it, depending.
Yep. I like it. I also just like Tetsamok Primal Death versus these Temur decks that are boarding in negates. And then you just Tetsamok them.
Oh, I think this deck is really beautifully positioned because the Chupacabras just completely screw up a lot of folks' baseline reaction to a black-blue control deck. Right? If they're going to go call it negates and spell pierces, and you're like, I already started off with creatures that were killing your very good creatures, they just have to rethink their life. They're like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm just going to lose to this Necrotal. And you're like, yeah, that was my plan. Maybe next week you'll have a
clever plan.
Diversified sideboarding strategy based around Planeswalker transformation. That's good against this.
Did you see Jim Forgus's Merfolk deck? It was 9th place, I think, at the Team Open.
Yep.
So it's blue-green, split down the middle with... I think his 1s, just the Kumena Speaker and the Mistcloak Herald. No big surprises there. 2s, Silvergill Adept, of course. Merfolk Mistbinder, of course. And then Deep-Root Elite and Metallic Mimic. Totally makes sense, right? Of course.
Do you like all of those choices at 2 better than the green Silvergill Adept guy?
It's confusing. I don't know, but I would believe it. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Like, I don't know how much you want all the cantrip guys versus just all the lords. Like, all the lords seem good, too. But then at 3, and here's the reason why I think you do want the Metallic Mimic and the Deep-Root Elite instead of the Branch Walker, is if you're a believer in Jungle-Born Pioneer, which is 2 and a green for a 2/2 that when it enters the battlefield gives you a 1/1 Merfolk with hexproof.
Yeah, so that card is basically 3 power and 3 toughness spread across 2 bodies for 3 mana. But if you've got a Merfolk Mistbinder on 2, which is or
a Metallic Mimic,
yeah, either of those are
or a Deep-Root Elite,
you're getting substantially more power. You're getting 5 power for 3 mana,
right? And it scales quickly because I think you're often going to have you're going to play a Lord on 2, and a good number of the games you're going to play another Lord or 2 on turn 4. And then part of the equation, part of the reason why the Pioneer is of extra value is that he's playing 4 copies of Kumena, Tyrant of Orazka. And once you can get up to 5 Merfolks so that you can be holding down the fort and then on your opponent's end step, +1/+1 your team again. But even just outside of that, if you just have Kumena and and you drop the Pioneer, well, that's your 3 so that you can be drawing an extra card every turn.
So I'll just make a counter argument on this. What do you think about the spells in this deck, 2 Unsummon and 2 Essence Scatter, versus versus that ability to draw extra cards. Like, this deck doesn't really do anything but play Merfolk, and they're like, if you're in a stuck situation,
I do not believe in unsummon over repulse.
Oh, yeah, the new Merfolk repulse, right?
Yeah, Crashing Tide. 2 and a blue sorcery, but it has flash as long as you have a Merfolk, and return target creature to owner's hand, yours or theirs. Dude, I like Crashing Tide in this deck.
I agree.
So yeah, I guess I would jam that.
I guess this deck could be pretty good after sideboarding against like control decks and approach decks or something. But I think game one, I don't know. I guess it's like essentially a stompy deck, right?
And I don't know. Maybe the mana is too hard. Dude, I would play 4 J-Light Rangers.
I agree.
I would only play a couple. I would cut a couple of these Kumenas. Maybe I just am an infidel or whatever. But
I mean, Kumena, who is in fact a tyrant, would consider you an infidel, I would guess.
I don't know. I'm on Kumena's team, but
it's weird that so many decks are like in the 3 to 4 Jade-Light Ranger zone, except for the green Merfolk deck. You're like, no, no Jade-Light Rangers
he's
for me.
only got 15. You only got 15 sources. It's not trivial.
Yeah, but 3 of them are Hash-Up Oasis, right? Like, that's a statement itself.
Dude, so Eddie Solis's Boros deck is another Fanatical Firebrand deck, but I'm just curious your thoughts on whether this is like, can you really just get away with splashing white this way? This is a red deck wins deck for the most part, but there's a twist. So obviously Bomat Courier, Fanatical Firebrand, Earthshaker Kenra, Oncrop Crasher, Hazaret the Fervent, Karizev, Skyship Raider. None of these sound weird, right? But then it's like 3 Relentless Raptor. You're like, oh? And that's because this is a Path of Metal deck. And all these creatures are immune to Path of Metal.
I'm not a believer in this. Like, you keep a 2-land hand, it could be plain Sheffet Dunes. Like, it...
Well, you wouldn't keep that one.
No. Yeah, you wouldn't keep that one. You're correct.
How do you pull off 3 Relentless Raptor and 3 Path of Metal in a deck that has only 11 white? How do you pull off 4 Fanatical Firebrand in a deck that has only 15 red?
Like I said, I don't think it's real. It's too volatile.
This is, and only 22 land. I don't know how this mana works.
Well, Metal is a kind of a mana source, right?
No, I mean in colors. It's not the quantity. I'm saying 22 specifically because you're not going to draw very many land in your opening hand that make your colors. Path of Metal is helping you when you don't need the help as much anymore. I mean, I guess it might contribute to like Hazaret or Chandra, but like I'm talking like, how are you just getting your colors? I would want more than 15 red, and I would want more than 11 white.
I don't. I'm not a buyer. First of all, I don't think that Relentless Raptor is a particularly high value card, right? So
it's fine.
It's fine.
I would play it if I just had, 4 Needle Spires and 4 Sacred Foundries.
I mean, if it were R1, I think like I'd probably really heavily consider playing it. Yeah, it seems.
I would slam it, heavily consider it
at R1, right? But it's
at
not.
R1, I would slam it and not play white.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So you're basically playing white for Relentless Raptor and Path of Metal, and I think Path of Metal's like fine. It's not even the most exciting card when you get it.
I don't know, man. I think Path of Metal, being able to sweep tokens and stuff, and it's not the worst.
Yeah, but it's another one of these volatile cards. Like, I think it overperforms sometimes.
I think the Path of Metal is just bound by the mana. I think Path of Metal could be good once if they just make some more dual lands. It's pretty far away from being castable, I think, right now. But I do think the card is actually deceptively good. It's just not castable. It's just not castable.
All I'm saying is a mono red deck with a little more land could just play Glorybringer in the main deck or something instead of playing those cards, and probably a better deck.
I think Glorybringer is a lot better than Path of Metal.
I mean, how about Glorybringer and not playing 4 planes in your deck? Okay, it's not just Glorybringer. Like, you also get not 4 planes.
Yeah, and that's to say nothing of Shephet Dunes in your mono red deck.
Shephet Dunes is so bad in this deck.
It's better than planes.
I'm not sure that that's true, right? Like, it's 2 white to activate. Okay, try that math. When is this going to ever get activated?
Great point.
This isn't even a go wide deck.
It's
or
not.
This is like a haste deck, right? You're like, I'm going to tap all my mana for whatever biggest haste thing I can do this turn, and then put you into shock lightning strike range. That's this deck's baseline strategy. It doesn't even have enough mana to play like 3 threats in one turn. I think structurally this version of Boros aggro will not be the preferred version over time.
All right, I got a Glorybringer deck for you.
Yeah.
Trevor Hunt's 10th place deck. Blue-red skies. So his 1-drops are 4 Siren Storm Tamer and 3 Hope of Guriper. Okay. I guess it's an artifact. Yep. So then 2-drops. I love Warkite Marauder. I love this card. I think this card is so good. It's going to show up a lot of places. 1 in a blue, 2/1 flyer that when it attacks, target creature defending player controls loses all abilities and has a base power and toughness of 0/1 until end of turn. So when you attack with Warkite Marauder, you can make the Scarab God a 0/1, and then it dies to Lightning Strike or Shock.
Yep.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
And it's a 2/1 flyer. You're not paying that much. And so then 3s, you've got Whirler Virtuoso, and on a good day, Maverick Thopterist.
Yeah.
This is a real lean artifact count for Maverick Thopterist, though, just to be clear.
You pretty much had to land Hope of Guriper on turn 1 for this scenario.
Whirler Virtuoso lets you curve into the Thopterist on 4.
Not on 3.
And Aether Sphere Harvester lets you curve the Thopterist on 4. And then we've got Glorybringer on 5. But the big joke is that this deck makes excellent use of 4 favorable wins.
I agree. Why does this deck not have Pia?
No idea.
Pia seems way better than Maverick Thopterist in this deck.
I like the Thopterist. I just think Pia is part of the way you're going to enable it.
I like Maverick Thopterist also, but Maverick Thopterist is not that exciting if you're just paying retail for it. And this deck is like, there's not that many ways to cheat Maverick Thopterist. Is there any way we could play Heart of Kirin? Or is that just too ambitious? Sure. I mean, but it won't ever get activated.
I just want to tap it to power out the Maverick Thopterist.
I think Hope of Guriper is a pretty low power card in this deck. It's just there, I guess, and it's legendary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. I guess it flies. I guess it flies. I mean, almost everybody in this deck flies or makes flyers, right?
They all do, right?
Yep. All right. Yeah, I love a favorable wins.
Dude, what about just playing Nimble Obstructionist in the main deck?
I like
and moving away from like the whole Hope of Guriper Maverick Thopterist angle. And still playing Skies, but just like moving away from that angle, and then just Nimble Obstructionist, and sometimes you just get them.
I mean, if you have like favorable wins on turn 2, and then you just like, flash out the Nimble Obstructionist, he comes out as like a 4/2, right? He can be like a Simeon Grunt in combat. He gets a small enough guy.
Is there any chance that you play a Curious Obsession or 4 in a Skies deck? Or do you just think you can't protect your investment enough?
I actually think that might be a really interesting strategy after sideboarding. I don't know if it's a main deck thing, but I think that there's definitely, like, if you're playing up against a deck that can't block very well, I think that the Curious Obsession has very little downside, and you're just going to consistently beat them up with it. I'm not sure about main deck. There's so many abrades, so many. Like you said it 3 times in this session, right? Like, oh, I don't even know why you have Fatal Push, right? There's too many abrades here. There's an overabundance of abrades and Fatal Pushes in main deck right now. I think that if you're thinking about that, maybe it's great, but probably not great in the main deck because of that overabundance. But I think at the same time, kind of inherently card advantageous flying threats like Whirler Virtuoso combined with favorable winds, that seems like a really, really kind of exploitative way of looking at the format, right? If people have a lot of point removal, it's not very good against multiple threats in one card, and especially like if you're like, all right, I'm going to kill one of the bodies, but they get to keep a 2/2 instead of keeping a 1/1. That's it's not bad.
Dude, so I have the perfect note to end on.
Yep.
Skylar Ashenbeck's 11th place Grixis energy deck, like we talked about. Just like we talked about. So this one, the Glint Sleeve Siphoner on 2. Whirler Virtuoso on 3. He's got Ravenous Chupacabra instead of Hostage Taker on 4. Sounds good. 5 drops. He's got a mix of Glorybringers and the Scarab God. Sure. He's also got 6 drop Torrential Gearhulk, 2 copies, and then Chandra's rounding it out. And then just a pretty good mix of spells, some Harness Lightning, some Glimmer Genius, some Fatal Push, Mess Scatter, Abrade, Supreme Will, Veracix Contempt, just 2 of this, 3 of that, 2 of this, 3 of that.
He's even got your 2 Gontis in the sideboard.
Exactly. The only thing that, and so 1, he's got my 2 Gontis, but 2, I like the Ongroth, the Flame Chain here again.
Love it. Also.
Man. Yep. And then I gotta be missing something.
Deadeye Tracker.
Yeah, Deadeye Tracker.
So
I get that like you can interact with the Scarab God sometimes if they just have no removal.
But not really. It's a 1.
Not really. I do not believe in Deadeye Tracker.
It's not like it has haste, right? Like it's just, but it doesn't even.
No, he can't just sit around. Maybe if time was money.
Graveyard, right? Like they could still mess with your graveyard.
Yeah, I don't believe it. I'm not into it.
This is like,
but this deck is dope.
Yeah, this is like the anti-Jim Davis deck. So instead of like 4 of all of these cards that aren't very good, it's like random numbers of cards that are extremely good. Like everyone.
They're not random. Not random. This is a finely tuned machine.
Non-4 distributed numbers of very, very good cards that are all extraordinarily good in different situations that are laced together with cards like Supreme Will and just the pure will of Skylar Ashenbeck.
Yep.
But I guess like
this is my favorite deck of the weekend.
It's a good deck. I think it's he's got like 25 lands. He's like respectful.
Yeah. And he's only playing 25 instead of more because he's got Supreme Wills and Glimmer of Genius and just the fact that Glint Sleeve Siphoner connects sometimes.
Do you think that based on what we saw with Jessup's deck earlier, that the actual final incarnation of this strategy is going to be for the Scarab God?
No. Not when it has Glorybringer.
Man,
yeah, so my answer is no. Hard no. Yeah, I think that not that many cards are in the same league as the Scarab God. Glorybringer is at least in the same league.
I mean, Glorybringer is insane.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
It's often better. Not always better, but often better.
Yeah, so I just don't I don't see any reason why you would want to suffer the tremendous diminishing returns of multiple of the Scarab Gods compared to having the versatility, the optionality of Glorybringer.
You know what's weird to me is that like I just look over the 17 creatures in Skylar's deck, and it seems to me that by far the odd man out is Whirler Virtuoso, which is one of my favorite cards in the format and a in this deck.
No, I think Whirler Virtuoso is deceptively good right here for converting energy. So, like, if you're alluding to the fact that, like, basically every other creature is, like, a must-kill.
Yeah, and
Ravenous Chupacabra. But Ravenous Chupacabra is the odd man out. Right? Like, Whirler Virtuoso is much more of a must-kill. It's going to make more Thopters over the course of the game.
No,
I like the Chupacabra.
Chupacabra is like the JaVale McGee of this deck. He's
I don't know. It's better. Yeah, but I love JaVale McGee. It's not been a great year. I think this is going to be a better year for Chupacabra than for JaVale McGee.
Yeah, well, JaVale McGee's probably going to get another NBA title this year. So,
Yeah, but I think that Ravenous Chupacabra is going to have more winnings.
Oh, well.
There you go.
We'll find out.
Yep.
All right.
Or we won't, because how the hell would we know? All right, well, thank you guys.
All of Ravenous Chupacabra's winnings compared to JaVale McGee's.
Yeah.
You're right. So, that's going to be pretty hard to gauge.
Thank you guys for joining us this week. Next week, we'll be ramping up into the Pro Tour, so it'll be an exciting week. I want to heartily encourage you to, and this is trying to get ahead of Flores so he doesn't have to do his whole spiel, but, sharing us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, so all that, and checking us out on Patreon. And we'd love to give a special shout-out this week.
Shout out to Jeffrey Hamasaki.
Thanks, Jeff.
And
major props for helping make it possible for us to be here every week. This is super dope, especially with a little bit less than 59% energy and 21% mono red.
Right, it's like a whole new day.
Yes, it is. All right, so dope. By the way, you gotta help me break modern. Let me guess, Lava Spike?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about Chained to the Rocks?
Life didn't work so great. Tried to play dredge, use a jailer hate. Ghostly prison waiting for my untapped phase. Your core trapped in amber stasis state. Lost a lot of friends, got left behind. Had to find a way not to lose my mind. Trapped in a vault with nothing but time. Parents and my friends were the key to find. Magic gave me purpose and drive. The game, the love, it kept me alive. Visions of better weather, light inside.